So yeah, so we had our last hurrah with Prospect with a funding deal. We won't go into too much detail with this, but basically we did get funding in towards the end, which handy-dandily coincided with the COVID outbreak, making for an extremely stressful and difficult development period. And then that funding deal essentially, we'll just put it as it came to a close rather abruptly, and it just left us... We had that and a number of other things happen, basically all in the span of like 1 month, that just decimated us. And I think what we built was extremely good, but we didn't really have a choice. Like, we had to make Robot Champions / Smashpunks because of the situation that we were in. We were in debt, first off. We had lots of bills to pay, and so we were always rushing. It was always a rush, and every decision we made was always through the lens of like, how can we do this as quickly and cheaply and in a minimum fashion as possible, like in a quick turnaround on everything. And we didn't really have much time to breathe or think, really. And then all these buses basically ran over us at the same time. We didn't just get hit by one bus, we got hit by 3. And the advice from accountants and lawyers and everything was like, look, you are insolvent, you need to close the company. And that was essentially really picking up this time last year. We were doing everything we could to reverse that damage, but it basically just wasn't possible. So how was that time period for you guys? Because for me it was really fun.
Well, it's always a shame because, you know, we were very happy where the game was going. Felt like it was going in a good direction. It was coming together, and then obviously, yeah, the rug is pulled underneath you. So, not the sort of ending we were hoping for. But it's not good to drag things out in situations like that, because you've got to take things on the chin like that. Otherwise, we would be dragging people along in terms of pay. You know, we saying to people, hey, we might be. I mean, this happened to me at Codemasters. They'd say, we're going to miss the payment. This your pay should come in on the 25th, but it'll be a week late. And you start to kick the can down the road like that, and eventually you've strung people along and you've not paid them, and it's just not fair on anyone. It's not fair on the fans. It's not fair on people who are waiting for the game, because they might be waiting. We should have really been up front when the event happened. So yeah, basically it was the best course of action. You know, Andrew, you, as soon as you were aware of this situation, yeah, you basically just had no choice, and that's how it ended. So yeah, it's a shame. But it would be a bigger shame if we were sort of pretending like everything was A-okay and we were carrying on, and because nothing would be getting done. You know, we couldn't be keeping people on. So yeah, not how we wanted things to end, but it hasn't actually ended. That's the main thing.
No, that and you're exactly right. I mean, ironically, or kind of more fittingly, the reason we were in the situation with like Robot Champions and the Kickstarter and all that was because we were in partnership with a company who did exactly that. They were capital F fucked and would not accept that for months and months and months. And when we discovered that, it was already way too late to turn course, and that basically dragged us down, caused huge issues, forced us to basically do a Kickstarter, and caused nightmarish problems for everybody involved. And so yeah, we didn't want to put ourselves or anybody else through the same situation. And we also wanted to make sure that if there was any way of continuing, we were going to do that as morally and as legally correct as possible. And so we initiated this rather lengthy insolvency period, which again, we're not going to bore you with the details, but basically if you want to shut down a business, you have to go through a whole bunch of legal checks and balances, have an insolvency company basically take over the business and shut it down, like close it down, and make sure that anybody who's got debt on the books or staff that still need paying, everything that's basically everything's wrapped up nicely. And so that process, we wanted to only take a couple of months. It took more than that, and so that kind of takes us into the beginning of 2022, where we were getting ready to set up Enemy Team. We had this idea of, well, let's start a new business, and if that business can carry over any of the IP or assets or anything that Prospect had, that'd be awesome, but we have to be prepared to lose everything, because there's no guarantee that's going to happen when going for an insolvency process. You know, spoiler, we actually did manage to do that. We managed to acquire things like Smashpunks and we got the desks that Prospect had, and this microphone that I'm talking into. So we got some stuff back, none of the money or anything, but we got a few things through the process. But that took a long time, and we had to do everything right and by the books. And so the first couple of months of 2022, we were just basically in it was a really weird period of just stasis, right? Where it's there was nothing bad happening, but there was also nothing necessarily good happening. We were just waiting for people who were hundreds of miles away to fill out forms and complete processes that we didn't really understand. That was a weird. So Q1 was just basically being frozen in ice, which was odd.
Yeah, it was a really weird period of time because no one really knew, like you said, no one knew exactly what was going to happen. Someone's mowing the lawn outside. I'm not sure if that's coming through in my microphone.
It is, and it's horrendous, and I'm going to need you to not talk for the rest. No, it's fine.
But yeah, I mean, pretty much we just didn't know what to do in the meantime, did we? So we just kind of worked on game stuff in the meantime. I mean, I started doing a random idle game because I wasn't sure what else to make. Plus, I've worked on Smashpunks for I haven't been in games for as long as you two, so I didn't have as much experience making games. So that was my first time kind of making things from scratch, from start to finish. So I mean, the past few months have been a great experience for me. I've now made a game all by myself. So pretty happy about that. It's been a good learning experience overall. I think it's been positive.
Yeah, and
it's important to look at that. It's important to look at it that way because there's a lot of learning we've done over the last year. We could have just taken a look at everything that happened and thrown our hands in the air, but there's been a lot of information that's come to light and a lot of decisions that we've come to, tough decisions that we've been forced to take. But I think we're much better off for it. And yeah, it was a very awkward period. I had to leave. I had to move out because I couldn't. When the money sort of froze up, I couldn't afford to continue living to the standard I was living at before. So that was a pain. But on the flip side, we've been able to do stuff that we've never been able to do before because we've been freed up, basically.
Well, that was to me one of the hardest parts of this was knowing what once these buses ran over us and left us for dead. And also the bus drivers got out and shot us in the face multiple times and laughed while doing it. It was okay, I know what has to be done, and that's inflicting more pain on us. And, for me personally, obviously, I've been doing Prospect in one form or another since 2010. So I've been trying to make this thing work for my entire adult life. And, I really tried to keep a stiff upper lip with the community and with you guys and everybody, but 2019 all the way through to 2021 was just relentless. And then to get to this point, and you can just see it, I can go back through and look at pictures of me. The amount of weight that I gained over the second half of 2021 was immense. I got to over 200 pounds at one point, and then dipped a little bit, and then put on even more weight. And then when all this happened, it just got worse and worse. And so then being confronted with 3 months of essentially just having to wait with everything being up in the air was somewhat stressful. But yeah, we all tried to take that as positive, find the silver lining. And for me, it was oh, suddenly nothing's happening. For the first time in over half a decade, I didn't have to think about payroll. I didn't have to worry about, do I have to fire my best friends? Do I have to take on this dogshit client work to survive? Do I have to fly to the other side of Earth to do a song and a dance in front of somebody just for them to say no and tell me to fuck back off? Whatever. It's it truly was just a relentless experience towards the end of Prospect. And so for me, the beginning of 2022 was a time to unfuck myself. I was right, I've got to lose this. I got to lose weight significantly. I got to get my mind back on track. I got to stop thinking so negatively. And it actually ended up being an absolute blessing in disguise, because we essentially, we got an unpaid holiday, but it was a holiday. It was a break nonetheless from just everything, and it forced us into low power mode. But for me, it's that was life-saving. If I hadn't done that, if I hadn't been through that experience, I wouldn't have been ready to start a new company and just jump back, hop back on the wagon and start going. I had a monumental amount of damage to undo, and I'm still working on it to this day. That 3-month time span bizarrely ended up being like the best thing ever.
Yeah, very awkward time, but yeah, a lot of learning, and yeah, we're in a situation now where we've been able to experiment this year. We can't. Smashpunks has its sort of innate technical difficulties with continuing its development, insofar as it uses a lot of physics replication and authentication for playing online, which we don't have a program anymore, so we can't maintain that. So we're kind of frozen on that game, which is a shame because we were very happy with the direction it was going in, and where it was taking shape. And it was taking shape, and at the moment where we were like, okay, we're bringing the plane into land now. We've done the discovery phase. We know what game we're making. We're very happy with it. We're having fun. Let's build levels for it. Let's expand the game and get it to be released. And then as soon as we land the plane up, someone fires like a missile at it, and we're done.
Yeah, it was the fact that we built the game essentially from scratch. Like, some of our community might remember the kind of transition from RC to Smashpunks, and it was like we restarted the project, and doing all that during COVID and hiring people. Jack joining us essentially in the middle of that period, and working entirely remote with like a 10+ team was difficult, but we pulled off the impossible, and we generated an online multiplayer physics fighter which is more responsive than anything else on the market. That is also like has really tight gameplay, has a ton of depth, and that we were right on the cusp, of like, this is the time to bring it to the next level. That's the exact moment where it was like, no, you're done, you're finished. It's like, but we've got this amazing thing, right? Like, and it's working, and it's not just a technical feat; it's like a creative feat. And Lord knows, does the multiplayer fighting world need something new and different? It's not just another FPS. It's not just another, template, cookie cutter project. Not just another fighter, whatever. It's like, it's something truly different. So yeah, I mean, you're right. It's unfortunate that it played out the way that it did, but again, and we've talked about this in the past. At the same time, it's like, what a bullet dodge that we didn't continue going down that path of having it being funded from an exterior source, from a larger business. And that's going to be the running theme of the story as we move forwards, is the problem. One of the major problems with the industry and with the games industry, and one of the major problems with like our pathway through making games, has been relying on other people to fund it, or making the mistake in our minds of like letting the gatekeepers of our industry gatekeep like our hopes and dreams and our vision. Because if you're going to take a deal that involves a lot of money, there's going to be a lot of strings attached, and the people pulling those strings can do whatever they like to you, and there's nothing you can say or do to stop it. Even if in a contract, and we've had this, in a contract it says you can do this and you can't do that, and they just throw that out and say, well, we've got more money than you, so we're just going to ignore what the contract says and do whatever the fuck we want. So there was a risk of, if we kept moving forwards with Smashpunks in the way that we did, it would have spelled disaster.